15 reasons Apple is better than Samsung late 2017. Coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, and welcome to 15 reasons why Apple is better than Samsung. We're talking about smartphones here. iPhones are better than Galaxies in this video. We did the prior video, 15 reasons why Samsung Galaxy is better than the Apple iPhone. In the last video, you can go check it out here. But here, let's begin by talking about the first reason, which is faster than the Samsung. So A11 CPU, although animations and a couple applications could look faster from time to time on a Samsung, what I mean by faster is that on paper they are quicker, and over time they should remain quicker than the Samsung device in the long haul. So if you are planning on keeping these devices for the long term, you're definitely going to want to pick one up, and you're going to be happy with the performance for quite some time. Now, don't get me wrong, animations and stuff, you could put on Nova Launcher, you could root these devices potentially and overclock the CPU, make them look faster and feel faster than the Apple device, but there's no denying that the chipset inside of the latest iPhones is ahead of the ones in the Samsung devices. So that's number one reason why Apple is better than Samsung late 2017. So my second reason why Apple is still better purchased than Samsung in late 2017 is the value on your resale. So if you do go ahead and buy an iPhone and you want to resell it later, you're going to get more money out of this guy here on either one you do go with. So what I mean by that is that if you sell an iPhone 8 Plus in a couple years, it might be worth more than selling a Galaxy S8 Plus, even though you could argue that the design is not quite as good as that of the Samsung device. They're still going to sell for more. The iPhone 10 will probably sell for $800 in a couple years still, even though, when it first launched, it was $1,000. So, it's going to just have better resale value. I mean, you can even look at this right now. Like if we go on eBay, for example, let me go ahead and get onto eBay and show you what I'm talking about. So let's take a look at a Galaxy S6, for example. Now, Galaxy S6 is a few years old here. Let's get on Galaxy S6, and you could see $146 to like $227 here, $148. Now let's take a look at an iPhone, 6S, which is around the same time frame as that phone. So let's go to iPhone 6S, and you could see $350, $314, $329, $278. So almost $100 to $200 more for a 6S, even though it's around the same time frame as a Galaxy S6. And this is what I'm talking about here. This is likely to remain true in a couple years. If you buy an iPhone now, your Galaxy will probably be worth less. So the next one on my list here is the better camera quality for video and pictures. So this one is very debatable. I know some people are not going to agree with this, but there is really great cameras here on the iPhone and the iPhone 10 over there. So iPhone 8 Plus, iPhone 10, iPhone 8 as well. And really the standout thing here is the 4K 60 frames per second. Now I know Samsung is supposed to be pushing that to the Note 8. Mine hasn't received it yet. If yours has, drop it down below. But you can also record in a much higher frames per second on the 1080p slow-mo video. So overall, I find that the iPhone and the Google Pixel have the best cameras of the year. Samsung was the reigning champ, but they decided to put very similar lenses that they did in last year's S7 and S7 Edge. So basically they didn't really improve the camera tech too much this year, whereas Apple did try to improve their camera tech. So I think you're getting better cameras here on the whole with the iPhone 8 Plus or the iPhone 10. And that's another reason why Samsung is not better than Apple here in late 2017, and why I would definitely choose an Apple device if you're looking for the best cameras. So my fourth reason why Apple is still better than Samsung in late 2017 is the ease of use. So even though, you could argue that both of these devices are very easy to use, I still think that overall most users might find the iPhone experience to be just a little bit easier. There's a lot more going on with the Android device, specifically when you do get into settings and stuff like that. It's just laid out a little bit easier, in my opinion, for iPhone, although things are starting to get a little more complicated for iOS. So this argument, I don't know how long this is going to remain, but as of right now, I still find the iPhone experience just a little bit easier to use than Samsung. However, that makes it sometimes a little boring, so keep that in mind. You might find it a little boring because it's very simplistic, but that's a reason why Apple is better than Samsung, late 2017 for me. Okay, so this next one might seem kind of obvious, but I don't want to leave it out, and that's software updates. So with the iPhone 10, I'm on the latest iOS 11.2, the official version. Now, I do have an update this morning for the Galaxy Note 8, but keep this in mind. That's the first update I've had in months. Now, you will get updates like probably weekly if you do the beta stuff with iOS 11. Now, if you don't do the beta stuff, every couple of months or so, you're getting a full official release update. So over time, this starts to, really make you feel like your phone is staying fresh, it's staying current, versus the Samsung device where you feel like, you kind of get left behind a little bit if you care about stuff like that. Now, if you just use your phone and you don't really want to dig around, you just like things to stay the way they are, you might actually prefer Samsung over the Apple. But this has an active community of people, so if you have any questions with iOS, there's going to be plenty of support online to help you with whatever problem you're having. And it's not even Apple that's doing it, it's just people who love iOS helping you out. So the active community with the long-term service updates and software support, you got to go at Apple, and it's still better than Samsung in that regard, and it probably will remain that way for the years to come. So number 6 on the list has to do with the applications. So the other day I'm in my hotel room, right? And I was out shooting photography, where I was, and I wanted a better camera app because the iPhone camera app doesn't let me do some manual settings within just the stock camera app. So I go into the App Store and I put in camera manual, and I find manual camera 2 for $2.99. Now, this is a really nice camera app with a lot of, exposure controls, very well laid out, and just looks amazing. Now, I didn't end up purchasing it, but I want to make the point here that, the quality of applications here is just unmatched for the Samsung devices. Now, you could say this is a, Android issue or a Google Play thing. It's not really Samsung here, and you would be right to an extent, but Samsung decided to run Android on their devices, so I am going to point that out here. So if I put camera apps here, you just get these rather generic kind of camera apps here on Android. Professional HD camera, like no, just no. Now, I know the Open Camera app is probably one of the best on Android, but still, they just don't look as good, and they just don't seem to have the same support as what you're getting on the iPhone. So if I wanted to buy one of these phones just for app quality alone, I would definitely steer towards Apple, and that's another reason I think they're better than Samsung late 2017. So my next reason is the continuity between the iPhone, the iPad, and the Mac. So specifically if you're using multiple Apple devices, this really comes into play. Like I do, for example, I use multiple iPhones, I do use the Mac, I use the MacBook, I use the iPad, and the continuity just cannot be matched. So what this means is pretty much any Apple service you're using, like Apple Notes, like Apple Photos, Messages, the whole ball of wax here, this guy's over here, just you get on your Mac, everything is there that you were doing on your iPhone. You get on your iPad, if you have it set up correctly, everything is there that you were doing on your iPhone. Switch between an iPhone, everything is just there. Now, if you're doing this, if you're using a Windows computer and you're using a Samsung, which I think a lot of people probably are doing, you got to transfer everything, manually. So it's much more work to kind of get everything working in proper sync, like the way you want it on like an Android device with a Windows computer. Now, with like the Apple side of things, the continuity is just flawless. Like it just works really well. Sometimes you have to buy more iCloud storage, which is a downside, but still things just work seamlessly together on Apple devices. So that's my 7th reason why Apple is better than Samsung late 2017. So my 8th reason is no carrier apps are ever installed on any iPhone. Now, this is not true also for unlocked Samsung devices, but I would almost bet most people are not buying the unlocked versions of the Samsung. So I can't really show carrier apps here because both of these were, pretty much unlocked devices. I think my S8 Plus wasn't though. I just deleted a bunch of AT&T crap that was on here. So if you guys do, get a Samsung device, chances are you're going to see carrier bloatware on your device and you're gonna have to disable everything. If you get an iPhone, it's just a clean experience out of the box. Now, it can't be argued that Apple doesn't let you delete all the applications, but the same goes for Samsung. Samsung includes all these non-removable Samsung services on their devices as well. Okay, so what I want to talk about here is the next reason why Apple is better than Samsung. That is the keyboard accuracy. So the keyboard accuracy on the iPhone is unmatched for me. It's just always pretty accurate. I find myself not having to retype stuff quite as much. Yeah, I retyped here on camera because I'm looking through a lens, talking through a mic, recording audio at the same time, doing a lot at once. But in my day-to-day life, I'm not missing as much on an iPhone as I am on a Samsung device. Now, Samsung does have swipes, so that really does help you out. But at the same time, the keyboard itself is not as accurate. I did have to download the keyboard from Google just to have a little bit of a more accurate experience because the Samsung keyboard wasn't working as well as I would have liked it. But you know what? You can't argue they have a number pad on their keyboard. But at the same time, this keyboard has been years in the making, years of, fixes and things like that. And Apple's keyboard is pretty much, I think, the best mobile keyboard when it comes to just pure accuracy and, autocorrect and things like that. So here is a blowout win for Apple, and number 10 is iMessage. So iMessage is pretty much unmatched here, late 2017 for Apple, and an easy reason why it's better than Samsung. Now, Samsung does have a pretty nice text messaging app, but again, it's a text messaging app. iMessage is a very robust messaging platform that pretty much works with all iDevices, no matter who's using them. So if you get the blue bubble, somebody else is using an iPhone, and it works through Wi-Fi. So you don't even have to have carrier service, whereas you're pretty much out of luck here with the Samsung device with their messaging app. Now, I know you could download stuff like Kick, you can download stuff like WhatsApp, and you can download other messaging services that work through Wi-Fi on Android, but it's nowhere near as reliable and useful as iMessage because people who have their service activated are going to be using iMessage either way. So if your service goes off for a minute or two, you can go ahead and get on Wi-Fi and boom, you're still on iMessage. Also, iMessage includes all these features, gifts built in, and they just offered Apple Pay Cash, which just pretty much puts them way ahead of Android once again, or Samsung again, with the Apple Pay Cash. So this is a huge win here. Couldn't ignore this one here. Samsung is not better than Apple when it comes to messaging. This is a key reason why I think a lot of Apple users won't leave iPhone device, period. So the next reason at number 11 is AirDrop. Now, AirDrop is a feature that over the years has just been getting better and better and easier to find than ever before. So AirDrop is right here on receiving, and you just hit everyone and you can just share stuff from iPhone to iPhone through your Wi-Fi connection. Super easy, super fast. So you got to pull from the bottom here. On the iPhone 8 Plus, you can see AirDrop right there, turn it on, and you're good to go. Now, this feature, you don't really pay attention to it until you start sharing between Apple device to Apple device. Some people won't even use this feature, but, for example, I didn't use AirDrop for like a year until I started thinking about it, and I'm like, you know what, why don't I just take advantage of that feature? But once you start taking advantage of this feature, it's a staple in the iOS experience and something that can't be found quite the same way as Apple on the Samsung device. So AirDrop is an easy win for me at number 11 for why Apple is better than Samsung. So at number 12 comes the standby battery life. So you can put both these phones, on your table side or whatever at nighttime at 100%. And you'll wake up with 99%, more than likely, sometimes even 100%. That's how good the standby battery life is on an Apple device. I've actually had some comments of people saying that they won't even leave the Apple device just because they want that great standby battery. So if you put this thing in your pocket and you're at work or you're using it or whatever, you're not going to have an issue too much with the battery life draining in your pocket. Now, stuff sometimes goes eerie on Android and Samsung devices where, stuff in the background is messing with the operating system and it really decreases the battery. So there might be more issues when it comes to standby battery, or definitely will be on Android, I've noticed in my experience. So this is another reason Apple is better than Samsung late 2017 is their standby battery lifetime. So at number 13 is, I think you can guess it just by looking at these two phones, emojis. So no, there's just no comparison here, Samsung, when it comes to the emojis. I mean, just look at the extensive amount of emojis you get on the iPhone. It's just not even comparable. We got like 5 rows versus 3. Now, one thing I do like about the Samsung is you can search for the emoji, but at the same time, you're searching for less options for an emoji. Now, Apple, started this whole thing with the skin color. Samsung's got it now where you could change the skin color. That's cool and stuff. But at the same time, there is just no comparison when it comes to this. And Apple just keeps, throwing more emojis on pretty much every update. I think Oreo got a new, update with the Google Pixel, and they added like 65 emojis or something like that. Apple pretty much adds that with every update. So I don't think there's going to be no catching up anytime soon when it comes to this emoji game for Apple versus Samsung. So that's a reason I think, Apple is better than Samsung late 2017. Now, this really will depend on how much you use emojis, but you cannot deny the fact that they're much more useful here on the iPhone. And number 14 for me is the displays. Now, we talked about in my prior video why Samsung is better than Apple is just the overall punchiness, the vibrant display. It just looks better. It's brighter in my experience. The Apple device has a display that's better calibrated. So you have to give that to Apple. Their displays are just better calibrated, meaning they look more natural to the eye, and they're probably going to cause less eye strain than the Samsung Galaxy devices if you are doing a lot of reading and stuff like that. Now, if you are just watching videos, you're going to want the Samsung devices. But in terms of photo editing, just clarity, accurate colors, you got to give a win to Apple here in this one. And Apple is better than Samsung when it comes to display accuracy in late 2017. Another easy win for Apple is the audio experience. We're talking about stereo speakers on both front and bottom of the Apple iPhone. So there's really no comparison here. If you are watching a Nick Ackerman video, for example, it's just going to boom. That intro is just going to boom when you're watching it. And over here on the Samsung devices, it's coming out of these tinny small speakers at the bottom. Now you could argue, well, we get headphone jacks, so we can plug some really nice headphones in our Samsung devices, which is true. You could do the same with the dongle here on Apple, but there's no comparison when it comes to the speakers. Easy win. So that is 15 reasons why Apple is better than Samsung late 2017. If you want to see the other argument, watch my video 15 reasons why Samsung is better than Apple in 2017. I'm making these videos to help you decide which brand or company you want to go with here. Coming in the closing half of 2017, Christmas season's coming soon. You might not know which side you want to go with. But anyway, these are my reasons. Do you have different reasons? Tell me them down below. Let's talk about it down below in the comments. What you think, why you think this company is better than this company. For example, if you want to state why you think Samsung is better, you can do that as well, or just do it in the other video. But yeah, another bonus thing, Apple is always going to be winning here on the gaming side of things. And that's it here from me. If you found this video helpful, enjoyable, click the like button for me. And if you're new here, consider subscribing for more. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Be sure to be well and peace.